Hey guys, SirVern back here. Hey guys, SirVern back here.
Hey guys, SirVern back here, and today I'm reviewing Resident Evil 3 Remake for the PS5. I'm going to go over the same 5 categories I always do: graphics, performance, gameplay/story, replayability, then fun factor. Give each category a score from 1 to 10, average it up, and then talk about the game a little bit. So, like I said, this is a remake. I never did play the original, so I'm going through all the Resident Evil games and just playing like the remakes if they exist. So, um, we'll start with graphics. Graphics are really good. This right here is like real footage, not a representation of what the rest of the game looks like, but you'll see some coming up. It looks really, really good. Capcom just does it right, man. They make their games look so good. All the textures. I think they have their own engine. I don't know, but it works. They have ray tracing. When you start, you can choose either ray tracing or like a high frame rate. I chose the fidelity mode and made it look as good as possible. And I didn't have a problem with the frame rate or anything like that. It played just fine to me and looked incredible. The only thing I can say is there are a few visual artifacts in like really dark areas sometimes indoors, like the edge of like like an edge of a door or a corridor might have like just some like artifacting. It's kind of weird, hard to explain, but that's literally the only problem I had with the graphics. Everything else just looked awesome, looked great. So I'm going to give graphics a 9. Performance, it just worked. Game doesn't crash. There are no bugs. You know, this is a patched version. I didn't play this right at release, but it works flawlessly. And all of my Resident Evil experiences have been just great in that respect. So I'm going to give performance a 10. The next category is gameplay/story. I'll have the most to say about this. So I had heard that this game is short, and it is. It's only about 6 hours to beat. It took, I think it said I had 6 hours and a few minutes to beat the game, but I think it said 8 hours of total playtime somewhere else. So it may have taken me 8, like I may have died a few times or left it sitting there. But I would say it'll take 6.5 hours. That's probably a good time frame. So it's not long, but what's there is pretty good. You know, we'll start with story. So the story is okay. It has a few twists and that kind of thing, but it's a Resident Evil story. Crazy, fun. I really enjoyed it. You meet some new characters. It's a good story. It's just I guess I have more problem with the gameplay, so I'll get there. But the story is, I mean, it's not the best Resident Evil story I've played. You know, 2 is really interesting, where you go back through and, you know, you'll come across something you can't open and then find something way later on, come back and open it. There's a little of that here, but just not a ton. But I guess that would be more gameplay. So the story's good, but just not super long, like I said. So we'll go with gameplay. So this is an odd Resident Evil. That the core gameplay is still there. Like, it's fun, the shooting's great, got haptic, you know, feedback. It looks good to play. It's fun. It's gory. You've got a dodge mechanic where you can, like, if somebody's real close to you, you can dodge and try to get by it real quick. I do that a few times, and I don't remember that in other Resident Evils. You're not being... See, I thought this game was going to be all Nemesis, like, chasing you. Like, in 2 was so scary because you're being chased by him, and it is so terrifying. Here, there's just not a whole lot of that. There's a little bit of it, but it's a lot of... It feels more, like, scripted, kind of, rather than Nemesis just walking from room to room looking for you. It just... A lot of this feels more on rails. So it's just different. It's not necessarily worse, but... I do like the Resident Evil puzzles. They really make you think, and they're really interesting and well thought out. But this one didn't have any puzzles. I think there may have been 2, and they were just super simple. So that was kind of different. I didn't love that aspect. There's not a ton of variety in guns, although you'll see. I'm not going to spoil anything. I don't spoil anything in my reviews, but there are a few different characters. So you can see... you'll use different guns. Let me just say that. So it's interesting in that respect, but Yeah, it's like a watered down Resident Evil 2, if that makes sense. It's still a good game. It's just not a whole lot of content here. Uh, but I still had a pretty good time with the game. The bosses, though, I'm gonna say are not very hard. Even the last major boss fight is really, really easy. I wasn't super impressed with the boss fights. Like, for instance, this character right here, I mean, you see him like once or twice, the dogs, everything, it's like a full Resident Evil game, but everything's like just cram-packed into 6 hours. So it's just okay. So gameplay slash story, I'm gonna give a 7.5. It's like, it's good. I'm not saying don't, like, this is a good Resident Evil game. I still enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun with it, but it's just like a very condensed version. So I could see people having problems with that, but I was looking for a short game, and this was perfect. I like short games sometimes, but when you compare this Resident Evil to like Resident Evil like 7 or 8 or 2, those are the ones I've played so far. This one is by far the small. Like if this was the first one I played, I'm like, oh man, this is great. You know, like some Resident Evils, you'll have to find a key card. There's all these different rooms, like in 2, and then you go back with another character through the same environment. You learn there's some of that, but just not as much. So anyway, 7.5 for gameplay slash story. Replayability, I think I gave Resident Evil 2. I probably gave it like a 7, something like that. And this one does have the same kind of stuff. Like I said, it's only a 6.5 hour game ish. But when you beat a Resident Evil game, these remakes, it comes like has like a store. You buy upgrades, like you can buy lockpick kits instead of like purchasing them. You can buy costumes. So there's a lot of stuff to unlock, models to unlock. There's hidden collectible stuff like that. A hardcore Resident Evil fan will play this game 4 times, and just really love every aspect of it. I ragged on the boss fights a little bit, but some of them are okay. It's just, um, once you learn, I'm going to give it a 6. I'll just put it that way. It's decent for a single player game because it unlocks all that stuff at the end. It would be a pretty difficult platinum probably, just because all the Resident Evils take a hardcore fan to do that. But I don't know. I might go through them again one day, like I would like to, because I love Resident Evil now. I'm a huge fan. My buddy's walking me through. Like I said, I started with 7, then played 8, then 2, then 3, then I might play 4. I'll see what he recommends. But anyway, replayability is 6. Fun factor. Had a good time with this game. It's not my favorite Resident Evil game, but I had a really good time. Yeah, I think it was perfect for right now. Like I was looking for something super short, and this was super short. So I beat it in like 3, maybe 4 sittings, and I didn't play that long. If you play 2.5 hours each sitting, you're gonna beat it, in 3 sittings, easy. So I'm gonna give fun factor an 8. Good, solid experience, fun. There are some scary moments. I did jump a few times, but not my favorite Resident Evil. So just to recap: graphics 9, performance 10, gameplay slash story 7.5, replayability a 6, fun factor an 8. That averages out to an 8.1. So a very good game. I really liked this game. And you can get it for super cheap. It's included with one of the PlayStation Plus memberships. I have it physically, but I just redeemed it and played it that way. Some things I wrote about the game. Haptics, thank goodness. Games need to use haptics. This does it perfectly. There's adaptive triggers. They use the speaker and the controller. They use the PS5 features, which I really appreciate. Capcom is an amazing game developer. I just love them. So you're getting chased in this game too. Being chased in games always terrifies me. It's not as much in this one, but even in 7, you're being chased by that old man. It is so scary to me. That's like my worst nightmare. So these games are, it's a pretty scary game. Not nearly as scary as 7 or anything like that, but still a little scary. No photo mode. I may have mentioned that, but it's just awful. Come on, man. We need photo mode in games. I'm going to make a video about that. They need photo mode in this game. I mentioned the visual artifacts. So one thing about this is some of it's kind of disappointing. The cutscenes aren't representative like some of the weapons you have. For instance, I ran out of like bazooka ammo, whatever the grenade launcher ammo, and in the cutscene it showed me shooting it like 2 more times. So that's kind of I just kind of it's whatever. It's a video game. It's not gonna be perfect. It doesn't show like your current loadout sometimes in cutscenes, so that's kind of I thought they could have done a little better, but whatever, it is what it is. Final boss way too easy. Like They really needed to make the difficulty level of the boss fights a little more difficult or complex, something, and then not enough puzzles, which something I never thought I would say. More puzzles in a game, because usually they can overdo puzzles. It's a very, you got to get it just right, or some people aren't gonna like it. But this one just wasn't enough stuff to like prevent you from going to the next area, kind of thing. But overall, I thought it was a really good game. I'm glad I played it, and I can't wait to play more of them. The next one I'm probably going to play 4. I have the VR too, so I may play it in VR and just have a crazy experience. So I may do that. But anyway, that's all I got. SirVern out.